You ever wonder why your coffee gets cold? Or why you just can't unbreak an egg? Well, it all comes down to this one single fundamental law that pretty much runs our entire reality. And today, we're going to ask a really weird question. What if that law just suddenly flipped into reverse?
Just picture it. You wake up one morning, and that crack on your phone screen, it's gone. Smoke is literally crawling back into a candle. That cup you shattered on the floor yesterday, it leaps back into your hand, perfectly whole. Sounds amazing, right? Like a miracle? But it would actually be the total collapse of reality as we know it. And to get why, we've got to first wrap our heads around the one law that would have to break: entropy.
Okay, so what is this thing, entropy, that's supposedly running the whole show? You'll often hear it called disorder, but honestly, that's a little too simple. At its heart, entropy is all about possibilities. And get this, it's the very reason time seems to have a direction at all.
Let's make this super simple with something we all get: a messy bedroom. Think about it. How many ways can your room be perfectly, spotlessly clean? Maybe one, right? Two if you move a book. That's what we call a low entropy state. Now, how many ways can it be messy? Millions. Clothes on the floor, books piled up, that's a high entropy state. The universe just naturally drifts toward the state with the most possible options. It's not magic, it's just probability.
And this whole tendency has a big fancy name, the second law of thermodynamics. But don't let the name scare you. It's one of the most bedrock rules in all of physics. All it really says is that in any closed system, and you can think of our entire universe as a closed system, the total amount of entropy, that messiness, is always going to go up over time. It just doesn't go down.
And this isn't just some high-level physics idea. It dictates pretty much your entire life. It's why ice melts. It's why your hot coffee always gets cold. It's why your phone battery dies. It's the engine behind aging, and most importantly, it's what gives us that feeling of an arrow of time. Without entropy, there's no before and there's no after. It's that fundamental.
All right, so we've got the rules down. Now, let's do what we came here to do. Let's break them. What would actually happen in those first few moments if entropy just suddenly started running backward?
You know, for the first few seconds, it would look like absolute magic. I mean, all over the world, decay would just stop and reverse. That old rusty car, it would start to gleam. Smog would literally vanish from the sky, getting sucked right back into exhaust pipes. And in hospitals, doctors would just be standing there watching in disbelief as wounds closed up all on their own and blood flowed back into veins. It would feel like the entire planet was healing itself.
But, and this is the big one, here's the twist. This isn't some movie you get to sit back and watch with popcorn. You are part of the system. Your body, your brain, your thoughts, everything about you follows the law of entropy. So if entropy reverses, you reverse too. And that's the exact moment the miracle turns into an absolute nightmare.
See, this reversal doesn't just mess with objects. It messes with the very rules of reality. And this is where our whole understanding of cause and effect just completely shatters into a million pieces.
Okay, think about dropping a glass. Simple, right? Cause? You let go of it. Effect? It smashes on the floor. But in our reverse entropy world, the effect happens before the cause. You'd see the shattered pieces on the floor suddenly assemble themselves into a perfect glass. Then, that whole glass would leap up from the floor, right into your hand, and only then would you perform the action of undropping it. Your actions become a consequence of things that have already happened. It's completely backward.
And this leads to a really terrifying thought about free will. You're not making choices anymore. You're not deciding to do things. You're just fulfilling a script for a future that's already happened. You're not living your life forward. You're unliving it, step by painful step.
So what about you? Well, the simple act of forming a memory actually increases entropy in your brain. So in reverse, your memories would start erasing, starting with the newest one. You'd forget this very sentence I'm saying. Then you'd forget this whole explanation. Then what you had for breakfast. You would literally be regressing backward through your own life, shedding every piece of knowledge, every experience, your entire identity, until there was nothing left.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. If you're unraveling and the entire world is unraveling, what's happening on the cosmic scale? Well, this is where we hit the final, totally mind-bending paradox of this whole thing.
So the universe kicked off in a state of incredibly low entropy. That's the Big Bang. And ever since, it's been expanding and getting messier. Reversing entropy means you reverse all of that. Stars would start sucking energy out of space to unburn their fuel.
Galaxies would start flying apart and start racing back toward each other, contracting down into one single, unbelievably dense point. It's a full-on rewind of cosmic history.
So here it is, the big question. Could you actually be aware of any of this? Could you witness this insane, terrifying spectacle of the universe unmaking itself?
And the answer, plain and simple, is no, absolutely not.
And here's the kicker. To see something, to observe it, your brain has to process information, right? It has to form a memory, create a conscious thought. But every single part of that process is also running backward. Your thoughts are literally unthinking themselves. Your consciousness is like a film playing in reverse. Because your own internal arrow of time is flipped right along with everything else, the outside world would still seem to be moving forward perfectly normally. From your perspective, everything would feel exactly the same as it does right now. You'd be trapped in your own little bubble of reality, completely clueless that the entire universe was screaming backward toward its own beginning.
Okay, wow. So after that trip down the rabbit hole, let's pull ourselves back to reality. Why does time move forward? Why is entropy's arrow so relentless? Here's the most important thing to get. Entropy isn't some cosmic force that's actively pushing things toward chaos. It's just a game of odds. That's it. It's the same reason that if you throw a deck of cards in the air, you're pretty much guaranteed they're not going to land back in perfect order. It's not because it's forbidden, it's just so statistically insane to imagine. Because there are trillions and trillions of ways for the cards to be messy, and only one single way for them to be perfectly ordered.
And that really is the sobering truth, isn't it? The laws of physics don't actually strictly forbid a shattered glass from putting itself back together. But the odds are so astronomically, ridiculously against it, that it will just never, ever happen. And that statistical certainty is what gives time its direction. It's what allows for cause and effect. It's what makes it possible for us to have a past, a present, and a future, for our lives to have a story at all.
So in the end, you see, entropy isn't just some messy agent of decay. It's the very foundation of our reality. It's the law that allows us to have memories, to make progress, and for the very concept of a future to even exist. Without it, there would be no story to tell.